What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to MANIACITV, man. Today, we got my boy Trap Moore, aka Trap Lord Ross, with Baton Rouge's Deadliest year, Vultures versus Bleedas. Now, I got a little bit of background, a little bit of knowledge on who the Bleedas are. We actually been doing a lot of reactions on my Patreon for those of y'all that's interested, man. Where, you know, a lot of people, they send in a lot of Bleedas songs. We check them out. But, yeah, and they've always really sent aim at the Vultures. So I don't really have any knowledge on who the Vultures are. So we gonna kick back, relax, see what this video all about, man. Let's get it.
Warning, this video contains themes of violence, death, and gang activity. The purpose of this video is to provide an educational account of historical events in the mainstream music industry. No disrespect is intended, and this video does not intend to glorify or glamorize the gang lifestyle. Every effort has been made to remove anything from this video that is against YouTube's community guidelines, including swearing, violence, drug use, and firearms. But if you'd like to see a fully uncut version of this video with everything I cannot show you on YouTube, then head on over to patreon.com/traplordross, where you can watch all of my biggest documentaries uncut for just $2. But if you're not into that, just hit the subscribe button and enjoy the rest of the video. Thank you. As I recently covered in my video, YoungBoy, Real Killer or Fake Gangster, the huge popularity of this Louisiana native has brought an unprecedented amount of attention to his hometown of Baton Rouge, the capital of the state, with fans of gangster rap becoming fascinated by his violent portrayals of the raging gang war in the city that had previously been largely invisible to those following the rap scene. Besides a few other local talents like Boosie, who unfortunately ended up losing much of his career to the notorious Louisiana prison system, generally Baton Rouge has been overlooked by mainstream followers of gangster rap in favor of cities with more famous gang cultures like Chicago and Los Angeles. As a result of numerous cases and a lengthy period restricting him to house arrest, since 2020, YoungBoy has been mostly staying out of Baton Rouge after catching numerous cases in the city and in other states. So as a result, for the past few years, Louisiana's most wanted rapper is actually living a calmer family life in a luxury Utah mansion while recording tons of music throughout his house arrest. However, while YoungBoy has been gone, enjoying the safety of house arrest in Utah, the gang war on the streets of Baton Rouge has continued to escalate and claim lives, with record-breaking murder rates making the city seem completely out of control in recent years, with those rates peaking in 2021 when the city experienced its deadliest year on record.
Baton Rouge has a gang problem.
Based on our conversations with our intelligence personnel, our law enforcement partners, and our Truce Initiative, we have around 8 groups or gangs that are actively we believe engaged in violence in the city of Baton Rouge. Made more than 3,100 felony arrests this year, 355 juveniles, and we've seized more than 1,366 firearms.
And if that wasn't bad enough,
With the juvenile ratio to the amount of firearms they got, how are they getting these firearms? That's crazy.
More than 1,366 firearms.
And if that wasn't bad enough, the Baton Rouge Police Department Street Crime Unit has recently come under fire for serious claims of corruption.
Latest investigation into Baton Rouge police, 4 officers facing charges of corruption in connection to a beating and tasing incident.
Even being accused of torturing suspects in a secret warehouse labeled the Brave Cave.
Yo!
After lead investigator Scotty Hunter and the WAPI.
Boy, what? Nah, this is crazy. Yo, law enforcement they taking them to the Dahmer warehouse? What is this?
Team exposed allegations of police misconduct in a secretive garage called the Brave Cave.
In short, the gangland of Baton
The
Rouge
Brave
seems like a
Cave.
deadly hellscape that anyone would surely escape if given the chance. Unfortunately, despite all of the money, fame, and opportunities that YoungBoy's many affiliates from his NBA and 4K trade crews now have at their disposal, their deep roots in the city's violent underworld continues to make them prime targets for violent attacks. And as the years have gone by, a whole new generation of street-affiliated youngsters have come up out of Baton Rouge, hungry to prove themselves both in the streets and in the city's now buzzing rap scene. Success in the rap game could well be their ticket out of the war zone if only they're able to get out before it's too late. And sadly, one of the brightest stars to come out of the city since YoungBoy, an 18-year-old aspiring rapper named True Bleeda, would end up losing his life right when he was about to make his breakthrough in early 2022. His tragic fate stemmed from events that took place during the deadly year of 2021, when an all-out war broke out between 2 factions, taking place in both the streets and in music. So today, we're going to take a closer look at the deadly war that's still raging in Baton Rouge today since YoungBoy left the city behind. And we're going to work out why this overlooked city really is one of the most dangerous places in America to be a rapper.
Baton Rouge has a gang problem.
And while crime knows no age, the number of juveniles arrested for violent crimes is skyrocketing, leaving us with one question. How did we get here?
Police have identified the 2 people killed in yesterday.
But look, you got corrupt police. When the policing is messed up, like, you can't just blame it on, people out here shooting people, but man, like, the cops ain't gonna give nobody a fair chance anyway, so why not just crash out? This is crazy.
Today's drive-by shooting near the Mall of Louisiana.
Shit, my brother, my little brother, first my big brother.
How did he die?
He got killed at my birthday party.
Cannot go home to mama after you've taken an AR-15.
And we've learned that there is no simple or single answer.
Over the course of this program, we're going to take you into the streets and to the neighborhoods to figure out the root cause of what is behind all of this.
Despite contemporary rap fans' attention on Baton Rouge and its gangs, the interest in the city has largely come off the back of the enormous success of YoungBoy during the late 2010s. But even before YoungBoy put BR on the map, gangs had been running the streets for years, and reports of escalating gang activity and crime have placed the city amongst the most dangerous in the country all the way back to at least the 1980s. The reasons for the gang problem are numerous and complex, from the generational trauma created by a history of exceptionally cruel slavery in the state to the extreme racism, discrimination and segregation during the Jim Crow era, which in many ways begun in Louisiana, which in modern times placed Louisiana as one of the poorest states in the country, and Baton Rouge itself being one of the poorest areas in Louisiana. Moreover, minorities, including African Americans, have significantly more people living below the poverty line compared to the city's white inhabitants, despite white people in fact being the minority within Baton Rouge. Combine this with the fact that Louisiana commonly has the highest incarceration state in the nation, which affects particularly the black population, further enabling their marginalization in the state. It's no surprise then that the deeply disenfranchised black youth in Baton Rouge have for decades turned to gangs in order to find meaning and structure in their lives. However, as mentioned, something has been different in recent years. The city has seen unprecedented murder rates that have largely been influenced by gang activity, creating a deadly cycle of reprisals that just continues to escalate.
Crime touches every corner of our city. Day or night, predators lurk among us.
And while crime knows no age, the number of juveniles arrested for violent crimes is skyrocketing, leaving us with one question. How did we get here? And we've learned that there is no simple or single answer.
Over the course of this program, we're going to take you into the streets and to the neighborhoods to figure out the root cause of what is behind all of this. And 2021 could lead to another dubious distinction. Last year, the city set a record with 117 murders. This year, 100 people have been murdered. That's just through mid-August. 10 of the victims, 17 years old or younger. In the same time period last year, 80 people were killed.
Even more alarming is the number of juveniles arrested for murder. 10 so far this year. Compare that to 5 for all of last year and 8 in 2019.
There's a lot of allegations right now, a lot of arrests that are made involving juvenile violent crime and deaths and guns. And
I'm not trying to like make an excuse for it, because we gotta do better as a people. It's crazy out here. It's uncalled for. But you go back in the history books, you look at the history of Louisiana, you look at the history of the black folk, they like to, put us all in one area, all in one spot, all in one part of the city. They like to, everybody poverty stricken. So you got to do what you got to do to survive. You got to do what you got to do to provide. Government ain't going to help your ass out. What Kanye say? George Bush don't care about black people. Come on now. Government ain't going to help your ass out. So what? You got to do what you got to do. I'm not saying killing is right, but you got to, everybody, I feel like what I'm trying to say is everybody is at fault for this, man. From the police to everything, man. And when the city's in that much turmoil, man, everybody got a part in it, man.
That's the wrong thing to be happening with young children.
The WBRZ investigative unit counting nearly a dozen juveniles arrested just this year for high-profile crimes around the capital city. The ones include the ambush at a College Drive apartment complex pool that left a toddler dead. 2 teens were arrested in that case. Also this year, a shooting at the IHOP on Segan Lane. A teen among those arrested implicated in that murder. A 15-year-old charged in the carjacking of a nurse at Our Lady of the Lake. Also in July, a teen arrested for killing a dad and Zachary after they exchanged gunfire in his home. That teen was there to see his girlfriend.
You cannot go home to mama after you've taken an AR-15 and coax someone to come out at night to rob them and then shoot them and try to kill them and then go home to your mom and eat cornflakes.
And it's in this deadly environment that a young rapper by the name of True Bleeda entered the Baton Rouge rap scene and begun making a name for himself.
True Bleeda hard. I like True Bleeda. I just really caught Tuna, bro.
True Bleeda, real name Dante Dorsey, was an 18-year-old rapper who was known for his versatile style that reminded many of the city's biggest star, YoungBoy.
Yeah.
Arguably, True Bleeda also showcased a similar amount of potential as a young YoungBoy, making songs that delivered both highly aggressive bars while at other times mixing rapping and singing with heartfelt stories about the rough life on the streets of Baton Rouge. Unfortunately, True Bleeda's young life and his promising rap career would come to an untimely end before it had even properly begun, when he and his friend were gunned down in their hometown on the 25th of February, 2022.
Police have identified the 2 people killed in yesterday's drive-by shooting near the Mall of Louisiana, 18-year-old Dante Dorsey and 19-year-old Clifton Lindsay, both from Baton Rouge.
To understand the tragic story of True Bleeda and how it's connected to the broader street politics of Baton Rouge that connect all the way to YoungBoy and his friends, we need to go all the way back to the beginning of his young life.
I know YoungBoy is tired of this. I know he's tired because, like, bro moved all the way to Utah. He out there with a whole different environment. But it's like somehow anything that happened in your city is gonna trace back to you somehow in some way. I know he tired of it, man. Because it could be like your partner could be into it with him. Because I think that's what this situation is. YB probably ain't even got a problem with him, but because the fact that his partner's into it with him, and then so-and-so stuff go down, they're going to trace it right back to you because you the most known, like you the biggest star.
True Bleeda hailed from the Glen Oaks neighborhood in North Baton Rouge, one of the many impoverished and crime-ridden areas in the city's north side.
Details have been released about a fatal feud in Baton Rouge's Glen Oaks neighborhood yesterday.
In serious condition tonight after being shot this afternoon in the Glen Oaks neighborhood.
Tonight our team is learning more about the man facing charges after a deadly shootout in the Glen Oaks area.
This neighborhood was also home to the late rapper G Money, good friend and label mate of YoungBoy's top surviving op, Fredo Bang. And these two can even be seen together in the studio in an old video from when True Bleeda was barely a teenager. Also in that video is a man named Larry from a Glen Oaks-based rap collective called Jungle Music, which played an important role in the life of a young True Bleeda. Despite being close to True Bleeda and G Money, Larry was also seemingly a childhood friend of YoungBoy's best friend and NBA co-founder OG33, with this showing just how interconnected all of the people in this story were before the war in the streets tore them apart.
I told y'all this, man. I told y'all everybody was cool, bro. Everybody was cool with each other. It wasn't no issues. Everybody they went to the studio together. They did everything together, man. I've been able to speak with a lot of people, not a lot of people, but with a couple of people that have been in this and been around YoungBoy before, you know, he became what he is right now, man. Everything was mutual. Everything was good with everybody, man. I didn't know True Bleeda was actually like in a circle though. That's interesting.
Just how interconnected all of the people in this story were before the war in the streets tore them apart. In 2014, when True Bleeda was still just a kid, a tragic event took place that would permanently alter his life. On the 28th of March, during a birthday party and concert at the Baker Civic Center just north of Baton Rouge, a teenager named Nakadron Williams would suddenly open fire on the crowd of partying teenagers, killing 3 and wounding 1. These victims would include the big brother of True Bleeda, called Mun, real name Kendall Camone Dorsey, as well as a good friend of Fredo Bang, Crazy Trey, real name Trey Jermaine Claiborne. During Williams' trial, it would be revealed that the 3 people killed were in fact unintended targets, while the intended target of the shooting was the 4th surviving victim who had had a confrontation with Williams shortly before the shooting. However, the shooting would still seemingly become tied to both True Bleeda's neighborhood of Glen Oaks as well as Fredo Bang, as news would report how Williams, aka Scrappy, was part of a gang called Acres Farm, who were based about 5 miles north of Glen Oaks, separated by the Baton Rouge Metropolitan Airport. Rapper Lit B from Acres Farm would seemingly shout out Scrappy in a song, and witnesses would tell how Williams had also been involved in earlier related altercations leading up to this shooting, with at least one of these happening around the Glen Oaks neighborhood. Moreover, it would turn out that this concert/birthday party was actually for Fredo Bang, real name Frederick Givens, although the local news would actually misspell his name. Fredo Bang would even later open up about losing his friend Crazy Trey that night during a Vlad TV interview.
How did he die? He got killed at my birthday party.
He got killed?
It was supposed to be my show, but they had labeled it as my birthday party.
He got killed at your birthday party?
Yeah.
You got shot?
Yeah.
The news would also mention messages that had been sent between Fredo and a girl, where the girl had allegedly revealed the identity of the shooter to him. Now, this is significant because Snapchat messages between incarcerated Williams, aka Scrappy, and another person would later be posted on Reddit, where Scrappy seemingly accuses Fredo Bang of being a snitch because he didn't delete incriminating messages from his phone about the shooting. There would also be photos posted on Reddit about paperwork that seems to list Fredo Bang as a witness in the case, although the document also states that Fredo did not identify the shooter to police. Now, for the record, Fredo Bang is definitely not snitching, and as far as I'm aware, he has kept it solid throughout his career despite his ops constantly trying to discredit him. But regardless, Scrappy later on did several live streams from prison during which he would diss Fredo Bang and accuse him of snitching, even going through the paperwork.
Frederick Givens on my paperwork right here. That's his name right there. You see it right there. Now, if you see right here, when it says Givens then asked her to communicate with the police, and this is his number, 225-955-0916. You think he still got the same number? And it says, message has been stamped. I mean, he screenshotted my picture and sent it to the people. I ain't even do that.
What's his Instagram name at?
His Instagram name is on here is Fredo Bang, right there, I'll tell you right there, Fredo_Bang. I repeat, Fredo_Bang.
Fredo would then seemingly respond to these allegations, calling them lies. In prison, Scrappy would also associate himself with Fredo Bang's enemies, such as people from BBG, including BBG Block, the brother of BBG Baby Joe, who is actually very close with YoungBoy. Meanwhile, to a young true bleeder and his neighborhood, the death of his big brother Mun was a huge loss, and in an old video posted on Jungle Music Larry's YouTube channel shortly after Mun's death, a young true bleeder can be seen hanging with a large group of older guys, all gathered to pay respects to his fallen brother.
Rest in peace of mine, baby. I love you, boy. Remember that.
The death of Mun would push True Bleeder to take music seriously, and so he and his partners would create a crew called Munway in his honor.
Bro, when our cousin died at 15, so it's like, that's why we came up with the Munway shit. That was his name, man.
That's why he started rapping like.
That's why he started rapping and taking that shit more harder, so we came up with the Munway shit.
As True Bleeder got a bit older, he would begin to release music under the name Munway D, still being heavily associated with the jungle music movement from Glen Oaks. And even though he was very young, his music would from the very beginning would show a great potential for talent as well as maturity far beyond his years. However, unfortunately, it's not as easy as simply leaving the streets behind and focusing on music. And as his career begun, so too would the escalation of a deadly war between two of Baton Rouge's most deadly but lesser known gangs.
So now we getting into
losing his brother at a young age wouldn't make True Bleeder only motivated in pursuing music, it would also make him yearn for revenge and turn to the streets. Perhaps it was the combination of this.
It's the crazy thing is, so his brother wasn't even the intended target. It's crazy how shit like that be going down. Crazy.
That would eventually lead True Bleeder and his partners, such as his older brother, Oak Boy Coco, also known as Co-Bleeder.
Shit, my brother, my little brother. First, my big brother Mun, he had passed away 2014. Then my little brother just took out with their rap shit.
And his cousin, Munway Day, later known as Real Bleeder, to come up with a new name for their clique, the Bleedas, or originally True Bleeders, with this name apparently reflecting the struggles that they had gone through since a young age and their dedication for their movement, putting their blood into this.
We young, bro, like we the youngest, you know what I'm saying? So, just out doing petty, but it's like, we in the hood, like mind you, my other cousin, his brother, he died at 15. And our partner, he died at 14, like, so we came up at 15, 14, so like, we just in front of the stove. I'm like, bitch, we gonna be true bleeders. I just be thinking of like, a lot of shit, cause like, this should be meaning a lot. So I'm like, we're gonna be true bleeders, you hear me? Like, we true Bleedas. He like, oh yeah, bitch. He f***ing with it, but like he showed me he f***ing with it and took it more serious and changed out his Instagram name to True Bleeder and really start rapping and going in and like, you know what I'm saying?
So
but
you,
we
so
man way at the
you
time.
gave him the name. You
Yeah.
came up with the name.
Yeah.
In the following years, the Bleedas would form relationships with numerous other gangs, groups and neighborhoods in Baton Rouge, such as the jungle music movement from Glen Oaks that they had started with, which nowadays is mainly still represented by Jungle Music Larry. They're also heavily clicked up with people from the nearby Zion City neighborhood, led in music by the rapper T.G. Commas, who is one of the...
So that, okay. Because I know T.G. Commas, so Trench Business, they locked in with the Bleedas. I don't know, like, when I be reacting to, like, on my Patreon, because TG Commas do a lot of shit with the Bleedas. I'm over here thinking Trench Business and Bleedas are one thing, that they just one collective, so, okay.
Hottest up-and-coming rappers in Baton Rouge right now, and partnered up with the Bleedas under their Trench Business collective. Bleedas are also associated with Fredo Bang's TBG, aka Top Boy Gorilla's crew, the group that famously went to war with YoungBoy.
So that make them automatic, so, okay. It makes sense. So that automatically make them, by default, if you put it in the terms and look at it technically, they YB ops. Technically.
NBA 4K Trey crews after the death of friend-turned-enemy G-Money, TBG's most promising rapper. The roots of the affiliation between the Bleedas and TBG dates all the way back to the night when Fredo Bang's good friend Crazy Trey was killed together with True Bleeda's brother. Another rapper
It's weird because there's so many different directions that this goes in as far as like the beef with different people.
With TBG and connected to the Bleedas, known as Hot Boy Do, is currently incarcerated on murder charges. Now, the Bleedas are also known to have beef with various gangs in Baton Rouge, but one in particular that's most prominent is their feud with a gang called the Vultures. The two gangs have been in a years-long war that's been waged both in the street and in music. The Vultures hail from the Scotlandville community located in the northeast of Baton Rouge, but their hood on the southern end of Scotlandville is more commonly known as Bankstown, which is separated from Glen Oaks and Zion City by the Interstate 110 that runs through the city. Vultures also have some well-known rappers that rep the name YKWHIF, which stands for You Know What It's Hittin' For. People like YKWIHF-V and his cousin...
That's too much, man. That's too much. What is it? YKWIHF. Like, yeah, turn on that YKWIHF-V. Like, man, just at least, like, condense it down to 3 letters, man. We ain't doing 6 letters now, are we?
Stands for You Know What It's Hittin' For. People like YKWIHF-V and his cousin YKWHIF-Car. Interestingly, V and Car actually used to be friends with True Bleeda's fallen brother Mun before their beef with the Bleedas. Both were also seemingly part of the Jungle Music Collective.
Does everybody have a picture? YB, YoungBoy and G-Money got a picture exactly like this. This was just the thing to do?
The Mun before their beef with the Bleedas. Both were also seemingly part of the Jungle Music Collective that both Mun and True Bleeda were associated with. But Vultures are not the only gang that the Bleedas have beef with, and there's one gang in particular that represents a link between the story of True Bleeda and YoungBoy, as well as his NBA/4K Trey partners. This group hails from the Sherwood Forest neighborhood and is represented by B-Way Youngie, who is YoungBoy's actual little brother, both sharing the same father. The gang has been known by different names, such as Goblin Gang or DHG, that stands for Dark Hearted Goblins, or sometimes Six the Crew. While B-Way has not officially been part of YoungBoy's NBA label, he can often be seen hanging out and making music with NBA or 4K Trey members like Ben 10, BBG Baby Joe, and Big B. B-Way's beef with Bleedas stems back to at least 2019 when he and his brother were arrested in relation to a shooting that killed 17-year-old Javon Brown.
2 brothers wanted in the deadly shooting of a student walking home from school are now in custody.
Javon was allegedly associated with another gang with ties to the Bleedas called 300, not to be confused with the Chicago gang of the same name. This made B...
No, I just caught tune with 300. These niggas is crazy. These, man, I'm telling you, I ain't trying to like push y'all to sort of the Patreon, though, but yeah, we got to get more. We want to check more of them out on Patreon, man. They crazy. I never knew that B-Way was arrested in connection to a murder before.
2 brothers wanted in the deadly shooting of a student walking home from school are now in custody.
Javon was allegedly associated with another gang with ties to the Bleedas called 300, not to be confused with the Chicago gang of the same name. This made B-Way an enemy of the Bleedas too.
Oh, my brother, just stay English. Coming on, boy, nigga don't run. Nigga don't run, boy. Side ride, nigga. With my ice on, hop out like this, hop out, no pistol with me, How far with this?
And there are also other NBA and 4K Train members with ties to the Vultures, including Ben 10, who is said to actually have family ties with some members, as well as Herm and Big B, who both hail from Bankstown.
Bro, where we at? Where we at with it right now, man?
Bankstown, USA, you hear me? That's how we bang, you hear me?
That's what it is, bro.
Clearly, Baton Rouge is a complicated and intricate network of interconnected gangs, all of which have some kind of beef by association, which often makes it hard to determine exactly why or who might have caused the beef to kick off to begin with. So,
alright, hold on 1 second. Alright, we back in rotation.
Let's take a closer look at what it was that could have truly toppled the first domino in this chain reaction of devastating murders. It's not exactly clear when or why the beef between the Bleedas and Vultures originally started, with some Reddit detectives telling theories of a complicated web of affiliations that led to both factions eventually picking their sides. However, what we do know is that during Baton Rouge's deadliest year of 2021, numerous killings would end up taking place that may well have a connection to these crews, eventually leading to the assassination of True Bleeda in the beginning of the following year.
Multiple people have been shot near the Mall of Louisiana this afternoon.
2 people are dead and 2 others are at the hospital right now getting treatment.
In the early hours of April the 23rd, 2021, a member of the Vultures called Zip, real name Aaron Batiste, had just celebrated his 29th birthday that night on the north side of Baton Rouge when he was shot by unknown assailants, later succumbing to his injuries in hospital.
Well, a man has died after an early morning shooting on Plank Road. Sheriff's deputies say Aaron Batiste was rushed to the hospital around 3 this morning and later died from his injuries.
Zip was a father of 2, and his murder left the family devastated, questioning when the senseless violence in the city was going to stop. Meanwhile, members of the Vultures would mourn the loss their way, vowing revenge in posts on social media. Later that year, the streets would heat up once again with a string of back-to-back shootings, all taking place in the month of October. On the 8th of October 2021, a man named Jamorius Ferguson, aka Gmo, was shot outside a home in East Baton Rouge when someone opened fire from a passing vehicle, injuring him seriously. Ferguson himself was reportedly not a gang member, but actually a member of the US Army, as well as a founder of several non-profits, including...
Gonna shoot at a nigga that was in the US Army? What? Like, I don't know, bro was probably stealthy with the firearms.
Founder of several non-profits, including one that was named after him, aiming to help and support youths and young adults in Louisiana. However, Gmo was also the big brother of V, a well-known Vulture member, and another well-known Vulture member called Dubug, who can commonly be seen alongside V in his music videos. The police would later note that they didn't consider Ferguson to have been the intended target of the shooting, perhaps implying that V or Dubug may have been the intended targets. Sadly, on May the 5th, 2022, almost 7 months after the shooting, Ferguson would unfortunately succumb to his injuries and lose his life.
That's fucking crazy. So bro wasn't even, he had nothing to do with anything. Again, another accidental victim. Bro, that's crazy. So he actually wanted to turn stuff around for the city. It's like every time when I hear a story like this, you know, about somebody who was doing good, doing life right, they get caught in the mix because they might be related to somebody, or they might be best friends with somebody, or they might just be in the wrong place at the wrong time. When they lose their life, immediately I'm like, man, the city is cursed. The city is cursed at that point. There's no way. Like, you can't break that curse, because the second you try to break that curse, you become a victim. This is crazy.
25-year-old died on May 5th from injuries he suffered from a drive-by shooting that happened last year.
Even with his passing taking place sometime later, the shooters in the gangs of Baton Rouge would not let up and continued causing havoc on the streets there. The shootings and killings around the two gangs had so far gathered relatively little attention, but only weeks after the shooting of Gmo in late October 2021, the war would become much more public, after the Vulture rapper YKWHIF Carr was brutally murdered in a hotel parking lot.
According to police, 23-year-old Malachi Demolin was shot multiple times and was pronounced dead at the scene.
Carr, real name Maleka Demolin, had been releasing music together with his cousin V since at least 2015. However, his life and career aspirations would be put to a hold in October 2020 when he would be charged with the second-degree murder of a man named Brandon Chapman. Chapman was also an aspiring rapper who went by the name BME Beezy, but not much else is publicly known about his connections to the streets in Baton Rouge. Fortunately for Carr, in March 2021, a grand jury would ultimately decide not to indict him.
And that probably was what led to his demise. So it's like you can't escape it either way it go. You found guilty, you get sentenced, you go into prison the rest of your life. You get found innocent, best believe old boy that they had you up there in connection to, He got people that love him. He had people that love him. You know, so it ain't no way out of it, man. This is crazy.
As the case was seemingly determined to have been a matter of self-defense, with Carr allegedly defending himself against Chapman, who confronted Carr being with his ex. Unfortunately, in October 2021, almost exactly a year after the death of Chapman, Carr himself would end up losing his life when he was shot in the parking lot of a Holiday Inn in a brutal assassination-style attack that, according to witnesses, sounded like he was shot with a fully automatic weapon or possibly a handgun with a switch. After Carr's death, Bleedas would
definitely personal.
Often diss him publicly, calling him a diamond pack due to him always rocking a diamond grill. Rumours would also circulate online that the Bleedas had something to do with Carr's death, particularly after Co-Bleeda would rap on his song Blow for Blow with Hot Boy Do, released in November 2022, some lyrics that many believe refer to Carr's killing. The streets were hot after the killing of Carr in 2022, some lyrics that many believe refer to Carr's killing. The streets were hot after the killing of Carr, and only a few days later, another young man would end up losing his life. On the 28th of October, around 10:30 in the morning, a man was shot and killed on West Catalpa Street on the east side of Baton Rouge.
Well, just a few hours ago, police say they responded to a shooting on West Catalpa Drive, where they say one male victim was shot and killed.
The victim would turn out to be a man named Jamonte Davis, an aspiring rapper who went by the name Mu Gotti. Mu Gotti was an alleged member of the gang SOG, or Sleep or Grind, yet another gang allegedly affiliated with the Bleedas, and his killing was considered to be a direct retaliation after the killing of Carr. At this point, NBA and 4K Trey had not yet been directly involved in the beef, but this would change on December the 2nd after YoungBoy's right-hand man, Ben 10, and his cousin Marvin Batiste would end up getting shot while driving on a highway in Prairieville, just southeast of Baton Rouge. The shooting, which police immediately determined to be a targeted retaliation, would leave Ben, the likely target of the shooting, wounded, but his cousin dead.
The vehicle had been shot multiple times. And
so it makes sense now. Because I remember when this happened, I'm like, you know, I ain't saying like Ben ain't had no enemies, but it happened out of nowhere. And I remember like a couple of people was like telling me like, nah, Maniaci, you really got to know, you got to be tapped in with what's going on in the city right now. Yo, okay, so it makes sense now. I'm telling you, I was getting so many messages. It was like, no, you got to know what's going on in the city. Like, this is way deeper than what you might think it is. Okay.
Just southeast of Baton Rouge. The shooting, which police immediately determined to be a targeted retaliation, would leave Ben, the likely target of the shooting, wounded, but his cousin dead.
The vehicle had been shot multiple times, and inside the vehicle we located a male that had been deceased from gunshot wounds.
That man was found in the passenger side of the truck. Authorities say the driver was also taken to the hospital with gunshot wounds. He's expected to survive.
The death of Marvin was a huge loss for Ben, and to celebrate his life, Ben and other 4K Trey members like B-Way and Who Gang D would wear custom clothes to his funeral, adorned with slime green, the colour of their blood set, 4K Trey. And Ben would later get a glowing chain in memory of his cousin. Many had speculated that the Bleedas might be responsible for this shooting, which they would seemingly hint at a few months later as Bleeda member 40 Glock U would rap on the song Gator Pack how somebody got killed, although the target was Ben. Ben would eventually reply to the dissing, saying how his cousin was not in the streets and therefore did not deserve to be killed.
Hey, my cousin was a football player.
So another accidental murder, man. This is crazy.
He didn't care that game. You kill somebody who need to like this for real.
The war between these lesser-known gangs had now touched a prominent member of Baton Rouge's most famous rap empire. So it would be no surprise then that a major tragedy would soon follow. Right before entering 2022, Ben 10 would get into a heated argument with True Bleeda on Clubhouse, during which Bleeda would accuse Ben of being a fake gangster who had never shot or killed anyone.
Gangsters on my shit, go get a hat. Who you ever shoot?
To which Ben would reply, sarcastically agreeing.
I ain't kill nobody. Stop talking like that, Danny.
Then, on the 13th of January 2022, the Bleedas would drop perhaps their most disrespectful song and music video so far, called Pick Your Partner Up, aimed squarely at the Vultures. In the song, Co-Bleeda would seemingly reference again the murder of Carr, rapping how this murder shit is real and how he will switch the Vultures down to see if they can really fly, with this accompanied by an ad-lib imitating the sound of a gun with a switch. Unfortunately, only a few months later, tragedy would strike on the Bleedas side in a way that would shock even the people of Baton Rouge.
Police have identified the two people killed killed in yesterday's drive-by shooting near the Mall of Louisiana. 18-year-old Dante Dorsey and 19-year-old Clifton Lindsay, both from Baton Rouge.
Who at this point were beginning to get used to gangland killings happening in broad daylight. On the 25th of February 2022, just after 1 p.m, authorities responded to reports of shots fired in the 6300 block of Bluebonnet Avenue near the Mall of Louisiana. They would arrive to find 4 men lying in the intersection, 2 wounded and 2 dead, along with a car riddled with bullet holes.
What we do know, there are 2 deceased here and 2 that were transported by EMS.
True Bleeda was later identified by his uncle as one of the deceased, and raw footage would be recorded of the aftermath of the murder, which is far too violent to show you on YouTube. The suspects in the
I remember seeing that footage, and at that time, I didn't know who any of the Bleedas were. You know, I was like a surface level fan at that time. I'm kind of still am. You know, we still getting in tune with Vultures and Bleedas, but I was like, dang, it's tragic, man. It's crazy.
Shooting had apparently ditched their car after firing, escaping the scene in another vehicle. And just after the shooting, Baton Rouge police seemed to be already aware that the shooting had something to do with rival groups. And just like the killing of FBG Duck in Chicago a few years earlier, this was a bold shooting in the middle of the day in a part of town which was usually considered safe. The Mall of Louisiana was the biggest mall in the state and one of the most popular tourist spots in the city. This being yet another reminder of how rappers who come from the streets are rarely safe anywhere in their hometowns, even if they're able to move away from the initial war zone. Co-Bleeda would later open up about that day, saying in an interview how he felt that they had already been at the mall for too long, and how he tried to warn the others about somebody possibly setting them up.
While we in the mall, while we in that bitch, I'm telling all of them, tell them like, son, ain't got niggas who really want to do us something, and like, take this serious, and like, we been in this bitch too long.
After True Bleeda's death, his ops would immediately begin to diss him. Beware Youngie would post a story saying LOL with a laughing emoji, and also seemingly troll everybody by liking a tribute post to Bleeda. Ben 10 would also participate in the dissing, filming himself walking in a mall while saying,
"We cannot go out like the other boys."
And he would also post himself on Instagram listening to True Bleeda's music.
Wow, they crazy. I mean, we ain't gonna act like this shit new, bro. I done seen some worse shit, for real, with people trolling. That's crazy.
We cannot go out like the other boys.
And he would also post himself on Instagram listening to True Bleeda's music. Bleeda member 54 Don Dada, on the other hand, would go live on Instagram, devastated at the loss, crying, while vowing for revenge.
I'ma fuck off, you bitches.
His ops, on the other hand, would actually repost this video and ruthlessly make fun of him. NBA member Herm the Black Sheep would also seemingly reference this in a song Soul Snatcher with Big B, where his entire verse could be seen as a reference to the murder of True Bleeda. Fans would even speculate that YoungBoy is actually referencing True Bleeda's killing in his song 4KT Baby, where he describes a car being shot 30 times, much like what actually happened.
30 through the car door. Yo.
A few months after the death of True Bleeda, in April 2022, Debug, real name Demetrion Grimm, was arrested and charged with the murder and attempts, with an obvious motive being that he was the brother of the murdered US soldier Gmo. Debug was also allegedly a cousin and very close friend of the fallen Vulture rapper YKWHIF.
Oh my god, so it's literally full circle. So bro,
obvious motive being that he was the brother of the murdered US soldier Gmo. Debug was also allegedly a cousin and very close friend.
Related to the other, he lost 2 people. So, okay, that's crazy.
Fallen Vulture rapper YKWHIF, and he had posted many tributes to him on social media following his death. When he was arrested, he was already facing unrelated charges for carrying illegal weapons, as well as being wanted by the police in Texas for money laundering charges. But what would ultimately tie him to the shooting was his DNA that the detectives would end up finding in the car abandoned by shooters at the scene of the crime.
Today, Demetrion Grimm was arrested and charged 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder and 1 count of illegal use of a weapon.
However, in a surprising turn of events, the police could not find enough evidence to formally charge Debug with the shooting, but they would continue to detain him while continuing the investigation. The following April, police in Houston would end up arresting 2 other men in relation to True Bleeda's murder, one named Donald Ray Graves and another Najua Jabari Harris, while they were allegedly caught while helping the smuggling of illegal immigrants. Graves is reportedly a known gang member.
Smuggling illegal immigrants, man. Hold on.
Member in Baton Rouge who allegedly purchased one of the cars that was used in the drive-by that killed True Bleeda. Bleedas.
Graves also had a warrant out for his arrest in connection with a targeted deadly shooting near the Mall of Louisiana back in February of 2022 that left 2 teenagers dead.
Harris, on the other hand, is allegedly a known member of the Vultures, known as YKWHIFDO, with his profile picture on Instagram portraying him together with his fallen friend Carr. However, since these arrests, DeBug has seemingly been released from jail and is living his best life, proudly labeling himself the Grim Reaper on Instagram, a play on his last name, Grim. So,
oh no, this is crazy, bro. It's crazy how many motherfuckers in Louisiana be getting away with this. I ain't saying like allegedly getting away with this shit. It's crazy.
Proudly labeling himself the Grim Reaper on Instagram, a play on his last name, Grim. So whether law enforcement will actually be able to prove who exactly was behind this gruesome drive-by still remains a big question mark. And justice still hasn't been delivered almost 2 years after these shocking events that rocked Baton Rouge. And in the meantime, the dissing has continued on both sides of the war. In the summer of 2023, Say Cheese would post their interview with Real Bleeda, where he addresses his beef with NBA. Real Bleeda and his partners would go on to claim that the videos on YouTube all about the war are cap, but also that they don't watch those videos. However, when asked if they knew the NBA guys growing up, Bleeda chimes in on the conversation, declaring with a huge smile on his face that Ben 10 was his best friend growing up.
Hey, you know that Ben 10 was like my best friend, you hear me?
Damn, word.
That was my best friend.
Like growing up type?
My real best friend, my right hand man.
This trolling wouldn't go unnoticed by Ben 10 himself, who would respond a few months later in his song Right or Wrong, claiming not to know him. Elsewhere in the song, 10 would also throw shots at Real Bleeda, who had told in the same Say Cheese interview that he received $170,000 compensation after the death of his mother when he was younger, with Ben mocking him, saying he's only got money because his mother's in the ground. For now, it looks like
Ben is a fucking psycho.
The death of True Bleeda is yet another case in the long list of unsolved killings that highlight the out-of-control tragedy playing out on the streets of Baton Rouge, as well as being yet another example of an extremely talented rap artist who lost their life way too soon due to gang-related violence. I really hope that going forward, all the young men and women of Baton Rouge, and beyond, can stay safe, stay out the streets, and find success doing something more positive, like music. I hope you found that short story interesting.
Shit, you do the music. The music is what's gonna get you got, though.
If you want to see more shorter mini documentaries about drill music and gang culture from around...
This is crazy though, man. RIP to everybody that was lost in this war and all these wars that's been going on, man. It's crazy out here, man. Baton Rouge and their deadliest year, Vultures versus Bleedas. I definitely got a lot more insight and a lot more background from this, man. This is crazy, man. Link down below in the description will lead y'all right to this video for y'all to check it out in its entirety with no interruptions. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button for me if y'all rocking with me. And until the next video, I'll see y'all then. Thank you for watching MANIACITV. I'm out.